It's my great honor to acknowledge the Union of BC Indian Chiefs. The Union of BC Indian Chiefs started off as the Native Brotherhood. They were the original voices to speak for us, for First Nations and our rights. Today we have Chief Bob Chamberlin, pardon me, I usually call him Chief Bobby C, so that's why I forget his last name. But Chief Bobby, you see him everywhere. You see him going to Ottawa with the Tsilcotin. You see him up in Tahltan. You see him with the Honeyguatin. He's everywhere. And he speaks for the fish, to keep our fish clean. I mean, once our fish and our water are gone, that's it. Like, people don't realize that. I don't know what our government's thinking. We're all going to live in space capsules somewhere and eat like powdered food. I really don't know what they think. But as the saying goes, you can't eat money. So I'm going to let Chief Bobby speak for himself. He's so accomplished, and I really raise my hands to him. Chief Bobby.
Gera Kasla Hamas the Lopalate. Nu Guam already guys and Laka Kwakwasutinu for Patmis, Muskamak, Zawadeno. Gera Kasla Koselis Lopalate, Slavitooth, Squamish, Musqueam, Lak Yuchtamas, Wheatland Megans, none will call us Quatnala. My traditional name is Owadi, and as is mentioned, I'm the Vice President of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs. The one thing that our organization has been pursuing since its creation was a fair and just settlement to the land claim issue here in the province of British Columbia for First Nations people. Having to deal with a lopsided, visionless government like we have today is nothing new for First Nations people in our long history. Time and again that we have come up against governments that want to minimize, deny, delay, distract, and do anything at all to maintain status quo and run over the top of the human rights of First Nations people here in Canada. It's a shameful thing. And we have Harper's government. He's in New York right now, and he's not going to attend the meeting where there's going to be 125 other leaders from around the world. That our leader cannot go and attend a discussion talking about something that only pertains to the benefit of this planet. Because as was pointed out, there is no B planet. There is only this one. And what he is doing is he's sending one of his ministers in, Susan Gluchach, where she is going to be held accountable for the inactions and the disregard that the Harper government perpetuates in relationship to the greenhouse gas emissions here in Canada. Time and again, we learn of more atrocities this government allows to continue. When you turn and look at what is happening up in Fort McMurray, you look at the tar sands and the greenhouse gas emissions that go unregulated. They go unregulated, and I say that is beyond anything in my mind that I could think of as acceptable, that the government must step up and take on the primary contributor to the greenhouse gas emissions in Canada. Take care of your own backyard, because the world demands it now. It is so very good to see so many of you gather here on a beautiful sunny day on the last weekend of summer. And yet we found time and places in our hearts to be right here, to stand with people that have the same thoughts and important concerns that we want heard. There's many people in New York, there's a good group of people here in Vancouver that are saying to the Harper government that enough is enough, it's enough, time has gone by where you must embrace the realities of global warming and must lead Canada to a responsible place within the United Nations to actually do something. Right to on. Act. I was reading in the paper this morning that Harper says their government is going industry by industry to examine the policies and regulations to perhaps make changes. This is a classic delay, deny, and distract approach by government so they can say to these cameras and to the world, we've got a process where we're going to look at our belly buttons for a number of years and allow status quo to continue. So his friends that make up the corporate world that have one concern, which is the bottom line on a spreadsheet and profit taking over top of the very planet's health that we rely upon to live. At the Union of BC Indian Chiefs this past week, we're very fortunate to have David Suzuki come and speak with our chiefs in assembly. And I found him to be a fascinating man. And he spoke of how he had met with the CEO of a major energy company. And he said, let's find some things that we can agree on to start with. Of course, the guy looked pretty skeptical, as you can imagine. David Suzuki says the human body can go 3 minutes without oxygen before you die. So I think we agree that air is important. He went on further to say the human body can live for 3 days without water. So I think we can agree that fresh water and oxygen are important things for human beings on this planet. We must move past the denial, the blindness and the deafness of our governments in Canada to really understand our involvement and what we must change to save this planet. And I don't say that lightly, because when we look and see the global warming that's going on, we look and see all the erratic weather patterns and behaviors and storms, it's not because we have social media and better reporting, it's because the occurrence of them are happening a lot more than they once did. And there is a cause, and it is what our governments are turning a blind eye to. As was mentioned, Chief Bobby C, that's my Twitter handle. How many of you have a phone in your pocket? Right? This is how we're going to change the world, right here. Social media. Do not fall prey to the corporate media monsters that are going to minimize your message, that are going to perpetuate the government's viewpoint of only wanting profits for their shareholders. It's time for Canadians to unite, First Nations, non-First Nations. We, as First Nations people in Canada, have a very unique place in terms of the Constitution and Supreme Court of Canada rulings. And as a result of that, I'll say that one more time, a unique place in the Canadian Constitution and the Supreme Court of Canada rulings. These are very major pieces of democracy in Canada that are giving direction to the government, which has continually disregarded, minimized, walked away from. And I would say to all of you that this is completely unacceptable from a democratic process, but also from a human rights perspective for First Nations people in Canada. For us to make the changes that we all dearly need, I would say that First Nations are very well placed to take this fight on with the strongest foundation and principles to move forward, where we want the land to be intact. We want the land to be there for all of our generations as we enjoy it today. In order for us to be successful within this society that is now Canada, we need each and every one of you. We are one people. And that is what I would say that we need to focus on, is unity. And how can we best support the ones who are best positioned to fight this government and its disregard for the environment.